Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about what I think is the golden age of gaming. What do I mean by that? I would call the golden age of gaming the years 2000 through the years 2010. This decade saw the release of the Xbox, the PlayStation 2, and the GameCube. Along with a plethora of outstanding, timeless titles. The decade began with the release of the PlayStation 2 in October of 2000, and would be followed 1 year later by the release of the GameCube and the original Xbox. I'm old, so I have memories of the OG console wars, being at school talking about the better consoles. It was really whichever one your parents got you. But with these consoles would come some of the best games ever released, and that holds true to this day. The Xbox could not have hoped for a stronger start when they released Halo Combat Evolved alongside the Xbox. You don't need me to tell you that this game revolutionized the first-person shooter genre, and I still go back and play this game pretty frequently. Other notable titles include The Sims, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, Perfect Dark, Metal Gear Solid, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, Counter-Strike, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, Half-Life 2, Resident Evil 4, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Shadow of the Colossus, Batman Arkham Asylum, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, The God of War 1 and 2, Portal, Call of Duty 4, Max Payne, The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, Fallout 3. The list goes on and on and on. For my own focus, I'm going to concentrate on the ones that left the biggest impact on me, starting with Mass Effect. Mass Effect came out in 2007 and absolutely changed the way that I looked at RPGs. Mass Effect is one of those games and trilogies that I still think about all the time. I have several disc plates that are from the Mass Effect universe, and every once in a while I gotta go through and play through all three games. Just kind of a necessity. If you play Mass Effect, you kind of know what I mean. This was one of the first games that I ever played that really had at least some weight behind the decisions you made, like with killing the Rachni Queen or releasing her, talking Saren into shooting himself in the last fight. There's so many examples in the first game that I absolutely loved. And the grandiose nature of the threat and the Reapers and that first time that you speak with Sovereign, just, oh my gosh, I absolutely love Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 2 and 3 as well. Obviously, you got Mass Effect 2 where you're building up your team, you gotta help them, and they become loyal. If you don't do that, then they die in the final mission. You have a choice, but the universe that they built up around Mass Effect just feels so real when you're in it and when you're playing, and people really do hate on Mass Effect 3 a lot, but it stays as one of my favorites, both because it's one of the original trilogy and it has the same feel as 1 and 2 in my opinion, but also because it ties up so many threads that have been following you throughout the games. Especially the one I think about all the time is the curing the genophage and Mordin and that whole series. That is one of the most powerful scenes that I can think of from any video game. The ending may have left some to be desired, but overall I absolutely love the original Mass Effect trilogy. Around the same time, if not the same month, 2007 released Bioshock, again, to start one of my favorite trilogies of all time. Bioshock is incredible. The storytelling, the atmosphere, the gameplay, everything about it is just perfect. The twists and the turns, the concepts and the philosophies that you're dealing with. Go right into 2, right into 3, and I know a lot of people didn't like Infinite as much because it didn't feel, so bright, and it didn't feel the same as being underwater and those same, like, horror vibes, but I look back on Infinite very fondly. I really liked the story. I loved the relationship between Booker DeWitt and Elizabeth, and it just tackles some pretty heavy themes and some pretty cool stuff, so yeah, Bioshock is another series that will top the list no matter what other games come out for me. I'm kind of breezed past Halo 1 a little bit earlier, but man, I put so many hours into Halo 1, playing it with my buddies, going over to their friends' houses and doing LAN parties and stuff. That was amazing. And it was kind of the same vibe with Gears of War and Gears of War 2. Gears of War 3 I really liked as well, but I don't think that came out in the same decade. But Gears of War 1 came out in 2006, Gears of War 2 came out in 2008, and both of those games were amazing. I still can't think of a multiplayer that gets your blood pumping more than the original Gears of War. I absolutely loved the multiplayer, and the story is great too. The gameplay was great. I mean, it was another one of those that came in and just kind of changed the game. For the better and for the worse in some ways, but that's not their fault if way too many other games replicate their game style. And then you got the whole, Dom, everything that happens with Dom in Gears of War 2, trying to avoid spoilers as much as I can, because this is kind of off the cuff. I still love that. It is such a sad story arc, and the way it plays out is great. I think they do it well. And you got other games like Metroid Prime. That was one of the first games that I remember getting for the GameCube, along with, some of the other games that I'd already played, like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And it's just so different. I still like the sound design in the game, and the world design and everything. It's just so unique. And like, I recently played through the remaster recently, and that was great. I'm trying to go through the second and the third one before the fourth one comes out, because it's just such a cool universe, and I really like Metroidvanias, so looking forward to the fourth one. Mentioned The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion earlier. That was the first game that I got for the Xbox 360. It came out in 2006, and I still remember running around that world being like, oh my god, the graphics are amazing. And I like, everybody remembers Skyrim fondly, which I do too, but Oblivion holds a special place for me, probably a little above Skyrim, to be honest. And in the same vein, Fallout 3 is just, it's like the same, it's like if you took Oblivion and just put it in the Fallout universe. The gameplay feels very similar, it's the same graphics engine, and I really enjoyed Fallout 3. I know that it's a contentious topic in the Fallout community, but I like the Bethesda games, at least 3 and 4, and I played them a lot. I really enjoyed those games. Shadow of the Colossus, like I mentioned, another one I mentioned earlier. I have very fond memories of going over to my buddy's house, because I didn't have a PlayStation 2 when I was younger, so I would go play Shadow of the Colossus with him. We'd switch off beating Colossi. It was the same thing with, like, Crash Bandicoot on the PS2. I did that with my buddy. Sly Cooper. Sly Cooper's the other one that I absolutely love from the PlayStation 2 era. Resident Evil 4 took me longer to get into than I'd like to admit, but once I actually let myself... there's that one part where it feels like the zombies are just, like, endless after you talk to the merchant, and I just let myself get stopped there the first time I played, but after I finished it, definitely an amazing game. Twilight Princess was another one that I came back to much later in life, and that's one of my favorites now. It's got a much darker feel than a lot of the other Legend of Zelda games, and it's pretty unique in terms of the gameplay. A lot of the games kind of feel similar. This one feels very different. I had high hopes coming out of this age of gaming. I thought it could only go up. But what ended up happening, which in hindsight makes sense, is, the industry blew up. And a lot of people, they saw that it was making money. So other people got involved that don't know the gaming industry, and now we're at a point where everything feels the same. Everything's Assassin's Creed now, or Far Cry, or whatever. Everything has to be a looter shooter, or an online game or a live service game or whatever, because it's all about maximizing profits. So I'm not here to fix the problem, but I am hoping we can kind of get back to more of this type of stuff. I mean, this is what really built the gaming industry. All of these amazing games that everybody still talks about and still plays and hopes for remasters and remakes. I mean, there's a reason that those remakes do so well. Like, the Dead Space one was awesome, the Resident Evil 4 one was awesome, and it's because those games were good. You know, they have a great framework to work off of. I mean, I think a good analogy or whatever would be with, like, Game of Thrones. You know, they ran out of book to work with and then it got bad, and it's the same sort of thing. You know, you need people with talent building the base, or else you just end up with a bunch of garbage. But yeah, that is my first real off-the-cuff video. Just wanted to talk about what I consider to be the golden age of gaming. If you were watching, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.